COVID-19 has been hitting marriages hard, with some lawyers and mediators seeing a 30% rise in caseloads. Pre-pandemic, women were already at a disadvantage when it came to finances and divorce, with the Canadian Department of Justice website sharing that after divorce or separation, women's income suffers more than men's, particularly for those with dependent children, with one study suggesting that women's median income for the year of their separation or divorce drops by about 30%, whereas men's median income decreases by only 6%. And even more alarming, women with dependent children were less likely than men to reach pre-divorce income within 6 years following the divorce. Needless to say, where women are concerned, the stakes of leaving a marriage are even higher during this pandemic. Here to discuss the COVID divorce is Meridian Credit Union's VP of Wealth, Dilys D'Cruz. Welcome to the show, Dilys.
Thanks so much, Candace. Always great to be here.
So we're looking at some crazy things going on because we had all these things in place already before the pandemic. What are we looking at now with the pandemic playing into this?
Yeah, and you touched on some of the points, and no surprise with everybody being cooped up for the last 6 months with each other. If your marriage was a little rocky and you were thinking that it wasn't going to work, it's accelerated it. And you talked about the stats, 20 to 30% is what I heard. I know you had somebody on for speaking on collaborative law recently, and she said she saw a 50% increase. And so I've been talking to people, lawyers in the industry, and it's somewhere in between that 30 and 50% increase of inquiries on divorce. And what's even more interesting, it's women that they're hearing from. And so even despite the stats that you talked about, women are, pulling the plug and making that call. And so, I'm here to talk about, what do you need to consider financially? And really, this is more about if you are going through that, you've made the decision, but even if you're not, because I'm here to really just, again, I'm so passionate about making sure women are taking control of their financial situation and being involved.
Yeah, because, this is, I think when it comes down to the breakdown of a marriage, we can all agree that it's a very emotional time. But when it comes to finances, women have to start to get very analytical about this and specific about what their needs are going to be and leave the emotion at the door.
Yeah. And so I was speaking to a family lawyer just to see what she was seeing. And she was surprisingly and not surprisingly telling me that she deals with a lot of professional women who you would think would have control of their financial situation. And yet they don't know what their mortgage is. They don't know how to do a financial statement. They don't know what assets are in their name, and they don't know what the cash flow is. And I was so surprised because I'm thinking, it doesn't matter, whether you're professional or whether you're not professional, women aren't getting as involved as they should. And so, this is where it's really important. Like I said, going into divorce is hard enough. But the first thing, if you phone a lawyer and you go in and see a lawyer, you're going to have to put a financial statement together. They're going to ask you to fill out, what are your assets? What are your liabilities? What's joint? What's in your name? And a lot of women are feeling overwhelmed because their husbands have looked after their finances throughout their marriage. And, I get sometimes, I've said this, sometimes, in a marriage, somebody does, cuts the grass, takes garbage out, and someone cooks, and you divide up, the responsibilities. But to, abdicate that responsibility and fully give it over to someone, is putting you at a real disadvantage. And divorce aside, we know the stats tell us that 9 out of 10 women are going to be single at some point in their life. And so
yeah, whether it's through being widowed, you're going to be single.
Yeah, you're either single or your spouse has passed away, your partner has passed away, or maybe they've gotten sick and they're in the hospital and now you have to manage all this. And there's so many things. And so, again, it's the importance of just being involved and understanding where you are financially so that when you do have to deal in this case with divorce, you at least can go in confidently and say, here's where I am financially.
Well, I'd like to talk to you about something, as I'm going through a divorce. And so, there's this whole rebuilding credit, trying to buy a home. These are big things that play into this for women. So where do we even start?
Well, start by understanding, I'm so glad you brought that up. Start by understanding what is your credit score. right? So a lot of women may not know it. And I have a story of a friend of mine. She's been married, 30 years, and she applied for her first credit card. Now, she had a credit card, and she's married still. She had a credit card, and it was in her husband's name. It was an extra card. So she did not realize when she went, believe it or not, she's in her 50s, she's been married for, over 30 years. She's in a profession, and she had no credit score because the house and the credit card and everything was in her husband's name. And so these are the things you just take for granted. Just because you have a credit card doesn't mean you have a score. And so it's really important. I would tell everybody right now, there are so many free services to be able to get your credit score so you understand what it is, and understand what's in your name. So once you've done that, people's credit scores take a hit, right? Through divorce. Both sides will take a hit. And so it is easy enough to rebuild it. It's really important about paying your bills on time, making sure you don't have too many revolving credit cards or lines of credit. And this is where an advisor can help, right? When you go in there and you're just like, I don't know what to do. Sometimes there's ways to consolidate that debt and maybe put it under one line of credit, because we know that going through divorce, your debt's going to skyrocket with all the fees and everything.
I was just going to say, so, that's what I've been going through. My debt has been increasing as the case drags on. And so what I'm looking at now is, I'm finding my credit rating has taken a hit. Not because I haven't been paying things on time, but because my debt to something ratio, help me out, Dilys.
Your gross debt ratio, your total debt ratio
is too high right now. And that's because I'm waiting on my settlement, unfortunately. And so I am living in this space, but it affects my credit rating. I have no choice.
So there's a couple of things I would say on that. So definitely sitting with an advisor and saying, okay, what do I have? Because it might be also you have too many revolving lines open, right? And so sometimes just consolidating and having one payment will help that, rather than juggling 3 or 4 credit cards and whatever, and plus you're waiting. And if you have, again, a good financial institution, a good advisor, you want to have these conversations, because if, let's say, you were wanting to buy a house and your credit rating's not great, right? But you're waiting on a settlement and there's a reason why your credit rating's taken a hit, your advisor can put an exception in and put a note to the credit department and say, here's what they're going through. There's a settlement coming and there's a story behind it. It's just not somebody with lower credit. And so this is where I always go back to make sure that you see a financial advisor soon. And it's got to be someone that you emotionally connect with, that you feel safe, that you can be vulnerable with, that they're not judging you, because a financial advisor, as much as they deal with the numbers and the finance, it's not about that. It's really about how do you interact with the person in front of you. So really important. And I tie this into, because, I went through divorce, and I say this, I'm in financial services 30 plus years, and I was overwhelmed financially, so I'm thinking, this is why I'm out here going, if I was finding it overwhelmed as to what do I have to do? How do I restructure? What should I do? I can't imagine how stressful it must be on others. So that's why I encourage, if I was to do a do-over, I would actually see my financial advisor sooner, which I waited too long because I probably thought, I don't need to. So that's my advice. Really get into somebody you can talk to and they can help navigate you.
Yeah. And you and I have had this conversation many, many times, in the last year, that you really just need to shake those feelings of shame. And if your financial advisor is making you feel bad, get a new financial advisor, right?
Because our last session, the last segment I did with you was kicking your advisor to the curb.
Yeah.
And I would say that, if they are not taking the time to listen to you, to ask questions, and if you're feeling really anxious and you don't want to tell them because you feel judged, it's not the right advisor. You really need somebody that can emotionally connect with you and help you through the tough times as well as the good times. So, really important to do that.
Okay. And Meridian has obviously a number of advisors available to help women through this. So where's the best place to connect with somebody?
Yeah, so just go on our website, meridiancu.ca, and we've trained our advisors, and this is what I want to point out. We are continually training our advisors on how to have effective conversations with women, with couples. So that's the other thing I encourage. If you're married and you're not going through divorce, whatever your situation, go in as a couple. And as a matter of fact, we have check out our website, because we do have a webinar coming up on October 21st for women to. It's called Breaking the Money Silence with Kathleen Kingsbury, and it talks about a lot of this. So it is on our website, and everybody is welcome to attend. So check that out as well.
Oh, that's excellent. We're going to share that on our Facebook page later. Thank you so much for joining me today, Dilys.
Always great. Take care.